What is up, guys? This is Matt Cox back with another episode of the Saustown Investor podcast from my apartment here in downtown Manhattan. Great to have you guys back, and it's been awesome getting feedback from everybody on the podcast so far. If you have ideas for episodes or stuff you'd like me to talk about, feel free to reach out. So for today's episode, this is a fun one. It's going to be a two-part episode. Here at Saustown Investor, our goal in this podcast is to help you guys buy more real estate and feel confident doing so and feel like you are insiders and experts and you know what you're doing and you're ready to take action. So today we're going to talk about, in the first part of the episode, how to make realtors bring you the good deals if you're an investor. You probably see on, these people that are doing a bunch of deals, some of the stuff that I post, how did that come across their plate? So we're going to talk about how to get realtors to bring you those type of deals that everybody else wants. And then the second part of the episode, we're going to flip the script and we are going to talk about what agents can do to make investors want to work with them. So anytime you're looking at really anything when it comes to humans and the way humans behave, you need to look at how they are incentivized. People are pretty simple most of the time. They are going to do things that they are incentivized to do. In this case, in the business world, that's usually around money. Okay, so if I'm an investor, which I am, and I want to get agents to work with me, the question I need to be able to answer is, how can I help agents to make money? Okay, so let's take it a step further. How do agents actually make their money? Most agents, in fact, almost all agents, are only paid on commission. Now, how do they make commissions? They make commissions when they help a client to buy or sell a house. They don't get money for doing showings or for talking to you about real estate or for brainstorming with you. They don't get paid for any of that. And so they need to see a path toward getting a closing, either as a buyer or a seller, when they're working with you. It's great to, chat and, talk about deals and all that, but eventually you need to help the agent get paid. So how do we go about that? First thing you need to do is, as an investor, you need to have a buy box. Not everybody's buy box is going to be the same. You might be a first-time home buyer and you're going to own or occupy the home. So you don't care about rents or cash flows or cap rates or anything like that. Your buy box might just be, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a master and a playroom for my kids. That's a buy box. If you're an investor like me, your buy box might be, I want to get in with 10% or less down payment on, get the seller to carry the rest at 4% or less for 10 years. And I want to have a path to cash flowing in my first year. That's a buy box as well. Bottom line is, you need to have one. It doesn't, it's going to be different for a lot of people, and it might be the same for a lot of people. But you need to have one, and you need to tell your realtor what it is. Step 2, when your realtor brings you a deal that's in that buy box, you need to execute, meaning don't be a tire kicker. Don't say, let me think about it. Don't, you're at that point, you're wasting their time, especially if someone like me, my buy box is pretty specific. There's not a million deals like that are floating around. And so if I have my agents, who are awesome, by the way, shout out Trevor and Sabrina, they're experts at this stuff. If I have them do all this legwork and go find me this deal that fits exactly what I'm looking for, and then I go, oh, okay, let me think about it. And 2 days later, some other some other buyer has scooped it up. How do you think that makes them feel? They've done all this work and they make nothing. Now, does that mean I need to close on every single deal they bring me? Of course not. Sometimes I might say, I've got too much on my plate right now. I'm working on stabilizing these other deals. I need to build up my cash reserves. I can't buy any more deals right now. Whatever. There's exceptions, but generally speaking, you need to execute when somebody's doing all this work for you. We all, we love our realtors. We have, you might be friends with your realtor, and that's all great. But at the end of the day, this is their job. And if you can't provide them a path to getting paid and paying for their living expenses and their bills and everything they want to achieve in life, they're not going to want to work with you. They're not going to have a lot of tolerance for you wasting their time. So you need to help them make commissions by closing when they bring you something that fits your buy box. Now, let's flip the script on that, okay? If you're an agent and you want to get investors to work with you, how do you go about doing that? And it's worth noting, there's a lot of great agents out there that they don't really work with investors. They help, family and friends buy their first homes or, switch homes every 7 to 10 years. And that's great. Some people, some agents, that's all they want to do. And that's totally fine. Now, if you're an agent that wants to make a lot of money doing what you're doing, the reality is you probably need to get investors to work with you, right? Your family and friends, they're going to sell by, they're going to change homes, like I said, every 7 to say 15 years. And, you might make a living doing that if you have a big enough Rolodex, or, if this was the 1980s, these days, a cell phone. If you have enough contacts, you might make a good living doing that. But investors, people, there's people that do a lot more deals than me, but even someone like me who does, I do a lot of transactions every year. Having one investor client is going to be worth many times over what having a bunch of family and friends who buy from time to time is worth. I know one guy, he's one of the most successful brokers in Salem. He essentially has like one client, because that client does millions and millions of dollars in transactions every year. And if you have somebody like that, you don't need other clients. So that's like the farthest end of the spectrum as far as like the best client you can have is that guy. Some of you probably know him. He owns, like, the guy I'm talking about owns like 2,500 rental units. So if you're that guy's agent, you don't need anybody else. But you can scoop up, people like me or, other investors who are doing, pretty serious volume every year. This is how you go about getting those people as well. So we talked about in the first section of this podcast, if you're an investor trying to get agents to bring you good deals, you need to have a buy box. On the flip side, if you're an agent and an investor tells you their buy box, you need to listen. I'll say that again. When an investor gives you their buy box, listen. Okay. Nobody wants to be pitched. We don't want to be talked into, actually, this is what you should buy. A good investor knows what they're looking for, and they will tell you. This stuff sounds obvious, but the next step is then go find deals that fit that buy box. I have this happen all the time, guys. I have agents that reach out to me, and they'll ask what I'm looking for. I tell them exactly what I'm looking for. And before I know it, a week or two later, I'm either on their MLS feed with a bunch of stuff that doesn't fit what I'm looking for, or they're like texting me a link to some deal that has nothing resembling what I told them I'm looking for. It's, guys, I don't mean to be harsh, but that's a quick way to lose credibility. It just makes any investor think that you're not really listening, and maybe you don't get what they're saying, and you're not knowledgeable, or you just don't care and are kind of sending them whatever and trying to get your next commission. Um, and that goes to the next point here. Don't just look to close one transaction, okay? You do stuff like that, sure, maybe your client makes a mistake and you get one commission. This is the hardest thing to do because we as humans, we're wired in a way where we're wired to think short term. How do we get our next paycheck? It goes all the way back. There's like science on it if you guys want to read up on it, but it goes way back to like caveman times when we were literally living meal to meal, and all that we could think about was short term. There was no long term because we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. These days, that's not the case. There's a lot more abundance in the world, but we are still wired to think short term. So if you're an agent, it's hard to deprogram this. But if you get somebody who's a serious investor and is doing a lot of transactions, think long term. Okay. If I send this guy or gal who's this big investor a really crappy deal, what are they going to think of me? They're not going to want to work with me anymore. And so what I look for and what my agents do a really good job of is they aren't just looking for their next commission. They know if they do it right. And my agents made, I mean, I'm not as big as some, there's a lot bigger investors than me, but my agents made well into six figures in commissions off me last year. And that's fine. That I'm happy to pay it because they bring massive value to my business. They listen to what my buy box is. They bring me stuff that's a fit, and then I reward them by closing. Everybody wins in that scenario. And one other thing I'll say is look for we've all worked with agents before who they have sales breath. I'm sure you guys have heard that term. They're itching for the next sale, and they're telling you, if you're the buyer, they're like, oh, we better hurry up. We better offer best and highest. Let's get the offer in. And everything is driving toward just trying to get one transaction done. Or for the seller, right? And an offer comes in, oh, you better take this. This is the best we're going to do. Oh, you better do their whole repair addendum. You better agree to all this. And it feels very transactional and like you're trying to get a commission as opposed to represent me as your client in the best way possible. So my realtors, I mean, they'll talk me out of deals. That's what I look for. My inclination sometimes is I'm very like foot on the gas. Let's do this. Let's make it work. Figure, this is a deal. And they're tight with their numbers, and they'll say, hey, Matt, did you look at this, here's where I have this. I think you're a little high here. That's the sign of a good agent. Okay. Their incentives in the short term are just to get me to say yes and let's get a commission. They don't do that. And because of that, they get a million commissions over and over every year from me. So they might lose out on one deal that they talk me out of, but long term, it serves them way better anyway. So, guys, in conclusion, this is the realtor investor relationship. It's a two-way street, okay? Everybody has to win. The way the agent wins is by getting commission. So if you're an investor, you know, provide your buy box and execute when it comes about. And when your agent brings you something that's a fit. And if you're an agent, just bring people stuff that they tell you they're looking for. Don't bring them other stuff, and have your client's best interests at heart. Seems simple, but it is so, so important. And if you listen to this, guys, if you're an investor, you're going to start getting these great deals coming across your plate. And agents, if you want to get these clients who are buying millions and millions of dollars in real estate every year, follow this, and you can definitely get there. So hope this helps you guys out, and thanks once again.